To
Okay.
welcome Capathia Jenkins, who is
Hello.
hello, has done the most wonderful concerts with the Cleveland Pops. I'm going to brag about you before we start. I went and looked at the songs you sang last time you were here. I Got Love, Something's Got to Give. What an arrangement that is. Summertime. And I remember John Such said to me, I Will Survive is not in the American Songbook. I said, at that point in the concert, nobody's going to care. So that was really, really, really great.
That was fun. I had a great time. Great time.
Just
Yeah.
wait
Absolutely.
till you come back.
Yes, I'd love to. We'll see when all of this craziness is behind us. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we are celebrating Black History Month this February, and I'm just so pleased to have this opportunity to speak with you today. And we were reminiscing a little bit about your performance at Severance Hall and how great it was to have you with us. And what kind of activities are you doing now that the pandemic is happening? Any teaching or masterclass sort of things?
I have done some of that, master classes. I am coaching on a regular basis, which I absolutely love. I love it when I have a really good student who is really serious about, singing and storytelling and all of that. So I'm happy with that. I'll tell you, when the pandemic first started, like the last time I was on stage was March 2020 with the Maui Pops in Maui, which was gorgeous paradise. But it's been, really, really a challenge. Myself and my colleagues and friends we've been talking about it and how to sort of get through, right? So I started out, really feeling sad and I didn't sing really for about 4 months. And after the 4 months, I said to myself, I'm going to get up every day, I'm going to warm up, and I'm going to sing. And slowly, I began to sort of come back to myself, right? You would think that singing is such a big part of who I am. Why did I not sing for 4 months? But that's what happened. And so I've been doing, I did holiday concerts right here in my office.
Wow.
Live streamed on Zoom or whatever. I did that. I've worked on a few projects, recording, having to record into my phone in my closet for sound, like just like pivoting to this whole virtual world and, and staying busy. And then in the midst of all of that, I am a founding member of Black Theater United, which is an organization that was created really out of the horrific murder of George Floyd and all of us sort of being at home, not being able to look away, right? And I got a text message from Audra McDonald just saying, what can we do? What should we do? And so there's about 18 of us. We got on a Zoom, very much like this, and started to build this organization, from the ground up, all in an effort to protect Black bodies, right? So in the theater and at large. So that's a long answer, but that's what I've been doing.
Well, good for you. So anyway, tell us about the influence throughout history of African American musicians is just so profound. How has this touched you in your career?
Oh my gosh. I mean, the history, gosh, is so vast. Um, I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and my mom was adamant about us growing up in the church, right? So we grew up in a Baptist church, lively music
Right.
department. I sang in the choir, all of that rich gospel music and storytelling and stories from the Bible, all of that rich history. I think that's probably infused in all of my work coming through, right? Because it's it's how I began in the world, right? But the history of, Motown, right? Aretha, that whole genre, and then jazz, that whole genre, right? So Ella, Sarah, Dinah, just all of it. I mean, we have such a rich history. And sometimes I think, if we're not careful, young people won't know. You know what I mean? And so
Yes, I do.
I try to do all that I can to help them, to remind them, and a new song comes out with some sample and they think it's a new thing. And I'm like, no, that was out when I was growing up. You know what I mean? So I think we have to always keep reaching back to our youth and let them know where all that stuff is coming from. But it's a rich, rich history.
I think it's great that you just give first names and we know who you're talking about. Sort of funny in itself. That's terrific. So, any particular, so these artists, I suppose, have all been influential in your foundation, Ella Fitzgerald, Sarah Vaughan, etc.
Absolutely. I mean, I went to Temple University in Philadelphia for a jazz program, right? And prior to that, I had studied all classically. So in high school I was singing, Italian and German and French arias,
Wow.
and really getting the foundation right of you know, breath technique, all of the technical parts of singing. But still, on Sundays I was at church, right? So I had like, all of this stuff. And then at home, my older siblings were playing Earth, Wind and Fire and Gladys Knight and the Pips and all of that. So it was like this sort of gumbo, right? But when it was time to make a decision about college, I chose Temple for this jazz program. And that's really where I fell in love with Sarah and Dinah and Ella. And they really taught me the Great American Songbook. I could always trust that, if I had to learn something, learn the ink off the page, I could trust Ella to sing that melody. I could trust Sarah to sing that melody. And maybe the second time through, they might embellish and do their own thing, but I could trust them to sing the ink off the page. And that is one of the things for me as an artist is it is important for me to trust the ink off the page, right? The writer, the composer wrote that for a reason. And I'm not a writer. I'm not going to do any better than they, originally planned. And so I try to learn the ink off the page and then infuse it with a little bit of Capathia, right?
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's when I fell in love with those artists. And then, in recent years, having to sing a lot of Ella with symphonies, right? I've been singing Ella now, for the last maybe 5 or 6 years. It's, nobody could swing like Ella. And the thing that, because people would say to me, are you trying to imitate her? And that is not the goal. But the goal is to sort of have the essence of her. And nobody had pure joy on stage like Ella, right? Even
Well,
when you listen to live recordings, you can hear the joy. You can hear her smile, like that is amazing.
well,
That's amazing.
if she was number one, Capathia, you are a very close second.
Oh,
Let's say
thank
it
you.
that way. I mean, when
Thank
you're
you.
saying it, the joy that comes from you is just mind-boggling. It's
Thank you.
phenomenal, and our collaborations have been such great fun. Are there any particular performances that you've done, maybe related to specifically to African American composers or musicians that you'd like to relate to us? Or an MLK concert you did, or something like that?
Um, hmm.
Well, my stock answer is always all my performances are my favorite. So,
I know. Yeah, I was trying not to say
okay.
that. But but yeah, it's really true because if you are like I try to be in the moment of every performance, um, you know, I'm in that moment. I'm doing that. I'm having the best time, and then I'm never looking back. I'm on to the next thing. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right. I
And
do all
so,
too well. I'm
yeah,
sure you're in the same thing that I do. Sometimes you look back and I say, did I do that performance? Or, because you're always looking ahead, new projects, new ideas and such. So
for
I think you're
sure.
absolutely right. But but you perform probably all over the world now. You even told me you were in Chesky Krumlov. What a
Yes.
great place that is. I just stopped there for a day, and I just as a tourist in March, which it wasn't when you were there, of course, and the castle wasn't even open yet, which was disappointing. But what was that experience like?
It was amazing, and I've been there multiple times now, which is so nice, so nice. But it's a magical little place, right? And I've gone there for it's like a music festival that they have, and it's over the course of like a week or so. And the last night is sort of like a Broadway night. But prior to that, there are like it may be Mahler's symphony, Beethoven, it could be anything, right? And it's set up on the castle grounds, the
Right.
stage, and everything. So at night, it is just the most magical, beautiful thing. And we just have a good time. Music is sort of that great equalizer, and it just brings us all together. I certainly do not speak Czech.
Well, we should start by saying that Chesky Krumlov is in the Czech Republic.
In the Czech Republic, right? I do not speak Czech. Surprise, surprise. But but the people have such a good time. And I remember one summer we were there, and they have these crazy rainstorms, like thunder
Mm,
and all of that. And so they were like, oh, we don't know what's going to happen. We're sort of watching the Doppler radar or whatever as the day is going. We start the show, the clouds roll in, the audience, it's an outdoor thing. So the audience is all sitting there in their like rain ponchos and everything. Must be a Czech thing. The rain starts, they do not move. They don't, they're just there. So we're like, oh, we got to keep going. We got to keep going. And so we we go, and the rain is getting worse and worse, and it's crazy, right? So the only thing that made us stop is, it's okay if the rain is sort of like straight down, but
right,
when it starts that diagonal thing with the wind, and the strings were like, our instruments cannot get wet. You know
right,
what I mean? Like we have to stop. So we just went, to the finale. And we did it, but the people were still there. It was still this magical experience, but really crazy and probably something that I don't know if I'll ever experience experience that again.
yeah. I know here, one drop of rain and everyone goes running, and
Yeah, it's over.
that's amazing. That's great. So have you been in, where else have you been in Europe or Far East?
I've been to I've been a lot of places, but in terms of singing with orchestras and,
Right,
and bands and all that, Hong Kong was great. I had never been there, so that was really, really interesting. And the thing about the Hong Kong audience is that they're really sort of quiet throughout the whole show. And then at the very end, they jumped up screaming like, and I felt like a rock star. You know what I mean? It was like, oh my God. So that was kind of crazy. But I spent time in Russia, and that was for Ella. It was Ella's
oh my,
centennial. And I had never been to Russia. So I was in Moscow, St. Petersburg, and a little town really north, just this side of Siberia called Arkhangelsk. And I was so blown away by that experience because, again, I don't speak Russian. But these people were singing along. It was, it was really like firsthand experiencing the power of Ella, like sold out shows, sold out. And I was like, I would love, to think that it's sold out because of Capathia, but I know it's sold out because of Ella. And just the joy that they had for those, it was all the Great American Songbook songs, right? And so they're singing along. They just loved it. And I just had the best time there. I really, really did. Yeah. And didn't know what to expect. It's great.
That's amazing. That's great. Well, music is definitely the international language. I know when I conducted in China, I didn't speak a word of Chinese. So,
Really?
you somehow you manage,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
sound is sound. That's amazing. So, we've talked about the great artists you've admired, and interesting how you still sing any of the classics anymore? The Italian songs or any of Mozart or any of that, or is that all behind you?
It is. It's all behind me. I don't sing it on a regular basis, but interestingly enough, sometimes, you may hear a melody that you remember, you know what I mean? Whether it's
Sure.
like, in an elevator or, at the doctor's office or whatever. And I'm like, oh, I remember that. I remember singing that. But no, I don't sing it now. No.
Well, there was a great foundation, I'm sure, vocally for you to be able to have that as a building block.
Absolutely, it's everything. So much of my career was spent doing musical theater on Broadway,
All right.
and that's eight shows a week, right? And so that technique is the thing that you rely on,
Sure.
right? Because it is 8 shows a week is a grind.
Were
It's a
you the
grind.
original Newsies, Capathia?
Yes, yes, I played Meta Larkin.
Oh, I'm sorry I missed you. We love the show. Our whole family loves the show. I think those boys, those kids dancing is just the most amazing thing I've ever seen. It really,
I so agree with you. Yeah, I agree with you. And I had the best time. Newsies was my fifth Broadway show. And to do a show with young kids like that who were all making their Broadway debuts and to sort of see it through their eyes, I was so thrilled about the whole experience on stage, but also off stage, right? I was sort of this mama figure for the boys, and they would come to my dressing room for advice and things like that. And I just loved it. And it was Disney, and it it really was the happiest place to work on earth. It really was. So yeah, I had the best time doing Newsies. Yeah, for
what
sure.
other shows did you do?
My Broadway debut was The Civil War, which was written by
Mm,
Frank Wildhorn. And then I did The Look of Love for the Roundabout Theater Company, which was the music of Burt Bacharach and Hal David.
mm.
And then Caroline or Change, which was the music of Janine Tesori and the book by Tony Kushner and directed by George C. Wolfe. And then Martin Short, Fame Becomes Me. That was Mark Shaman and Scott Whitman, and of course, Martin Short, Sir Martin. And then Newsies.
Fabulous. Well, you've definitely had a varied career, and I'm so happy that we're able to present these conversations celebrating Black History Month and having you grace our stage at Severance Hall is very special. And here's to return engagement.
Here's to that from your mouth, Carl, to God's ears.
Okay, somehow we'll get through this. I'm
We
I'm
will
waiting in
too.
line for my vaccination, and our board, the Pops board, has been phenomenal, really, in keeping us going, and we have people who are very supportive, and we know that we want to get back to performing as soon as possible.
Well, that is great news. Please give my love to everyone there. Please give them my love and tell them I will see them as soon as I can.
Absolutely. Very good. Well, stay well. So
You
great to
too.
see you,
Thank
and thank
you.
you so much for doing this. Much appreciated. Okay.
Thanks so much. Bye
Bye-bye.
bye.
Bye-bye.